Ani Buju, welcome everybody. Jody Anderson, Indigenous, Kuchaching Nindojaba, Ottawa Ninda, Makwanindodem. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar on special purpose vehicles, brought to you today by the First Nations Finance Authority, or the FNFA. I first want to say miigwech for giving us your time this afternoon. We have an hour booked and probably won't take up the entire hour, but we're more than happy to answer any questions. If people want to add your questions, there's a Q&A session there that we can monitor along the way, or you're more than welcome to use the chat session here. At this time, I am calling in from the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin people, but our headquarters is out of West Bank First Nation and the Okanagan and Silex territories. At this time, I would like to call upon our President and CEO, Mr. Ernie Daniels, who will be conducting today's webinar and delivering the information that we wish to transfer and take any comments or questions along the way. Ernie.
Thank you, Jody. Really happy to be here today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen right now, and somebody give me a thumbs up if they can see it.
Yep,
Good to go, sir.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so really happy to be here today to talk to you today about this really important amendment to our legislation that we're in a process of working with Canada. So I'm calling you from the West Bank First Nation in the heart of the Okanagan. Beautiful fall day here in the Okanagan. I hope everybody else is having a wonderful day with the weather-wise anyway. So yeah, so I'm going to get started. This is the outline of what I want to talk to you about today. Really talk about what the special purpose vehicle is and the benefits of borrowing in a SPV, and also the proposed amendments that we're working on with Canada to ensure that we can actually finance an SPV, and also the process for accessing loans through an SPV with the First Nations Finance Authority. I'm going to mention a little bit about the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program. And then we have a call to action, which we will also talk about. We're looking for support on this amendment and any closing comments that anybody has. So we do have a video as well. And if you stay tuned at the end, we have a few questions to ask you. And we have a door prize for one of your participants that are participating here today. So a special purpose vehicle, what is it? Well, really a special purpose vehicle is a corporation, usually set up for a specific purpose. It's governed by bylaws of the special purpose vehicle sets up its own bylaws and how it conducts itself with the partners that join it and form. And they can be as many participants that you have in there, but the main thing it's a corporate body or limited partnership formed for the sole purpose of investing or owning a project or specific assets. In the case for the FNFA financing, the special purpose loan vehicle must be backed by a loan guarantee. And when I say loan guarantee, it could be the federal Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program or a provincial loan guarantee program, which there are a few. One is in Alberta, in Ontario, and we know Manitoba is actually in the process of developing one. So the SPV vehicle, as I mentioned, could be comprised of one or more Indigenous groups that come together around an opportunity. The recent support that a group of First Nations got from the federal government loan guarantee was for the purpose of an Enbridge equity into an Enbridge existing project that brought 38 First Nations together for a total of $736 million investment. So Indigenous groups, in our case, is a party to a treaty, land claims settlement, a self-government agreement within Canada or a First Nation. Potential benefits of borrowing via an SPV. So really the first benefit that we see that's really helpful for our communities is to have multiple Indigenous groups working together to invest into large projects, large resource projects, or other types of projects. Indigenous groups with or without or lower borrowing capacity or not currently working within the FMA can access FNFA loans via the SPV, just like the project that I identified with the 38 First Nations in BC. There was 38 First Nations that were able to participate in this. So this pooled approach really helps minimize risk to the community, and it insulates the community from risk of a project of this nature. So it really helps access to ownership in large resource projects. And you can see on the screen we have an example of how an SPV can be set up with multiple investors, and investors, this case is First Nations. So the proposed amendments to the First Nations Fiscal Management Act is really to expand FNFA's mandate on who we can provide financing to. So right now at the current time, the FNFMA, the Act, I'll just say the Act from here on in, limits us to providing financing to First Nations under the Indian Act. So Indian Act bans. So by working on this amendment and getting it supported and part of the FMA, it means that we can start to lend to a qualified special purpose vehicle that's made up of many First Nations, really to look at taking equity into larger resource projects. And so the borrowing membership will be expanded to include a qualified special purpose vehicle. So to access the FNFA loans via an SPV, the SPV would submit an application to become a borrowing member. We would conduct the due diligence like we normally do with all projects that all financing requests that we receive from First Nations. And so in this case, the SPV would be investing into probably a really complex project that requires a lot of financial and legal analysis, as well as to ensure that the SPV is protected to some degree. And on the other side of it, the government's loan guarantee organization called CEDA will also be doing due diligence. So our board would review the loan and would approve lending to the SPV for the project as long as it meets all the requirements that we look for. In the cases where there's existing revenues, we would ensure that the revenues go through our secured revenues trust account like we do with our current borrowing members. So the revenue streams would work through that process. And it's a process that works really well. A lot of you out there that are working with us, you know and you understand how this is working. We also will retain 5% of the loan in a debt reserve fund, just like we normally do with our existing loan requests from First Nations that are borrowing through us. And once the loan is repaid, it'll be returned to the SPV with the earned interest. So we invested and we earned interest on that. And also, the one thing that will not apply when an SPV is accessing a loan to the FNFA is there'll be no requirement for FMB certification. One of their main reasons is that there are multiple First Nations working together, and some may not be able to get the FMB certification. And we really, really want to make sure that every First Nation can participate in these types of investments so that they can start generating income. Um, so that's one of the things that will happen. Plus, the loan guarantee really takes a lot of risk out of any type of investment that a First Nation or a group of First Nations would want to look at. So a representative of the SPV could be present at our AGM or other members gatherings, and will not be able to participate on the board and vote for new borrowing members. And that's simply because some First Nations may already be on the board, may have a representative on the board, and they may have two representatives at the same time, and it's not the intent that the FNFA is looking for. So we're trying to get broader representation across the board. So the SPV, why does FNFA want this change? Well, first of all, we want to make sure that the First Nations have more than one option, like multiple options where they can access financing for these types of projects. And also for the fact that the FNFA cannot lend to an SPV, because we currently lend directly to Indian Act bands only who have received FMB certification. So this provides greater options for First Nations when they're looking for financing. We want to ensure that there are no communities that are left behind, and really to allow them to participate in these types of projects. And as I mentioned, to start to generate their own source revenue so that they can decide what they want to do with those revenues. My experience that most First Nations that have own source revenue, they actually invested back into the community through infrastructure or addressing social programs and so forth, and to invest into further economic development. So these types of projects provide a greater rate of return on the investment that the investors make in such projects. And so First Nations can see a larger increase in their return on investment, and as I mentioned, be in a position to really be managing more own source revenues as they get them. And it would also provide a lower cost of financing to those First Nations. So the FNFA, the way we operate is that we issue our own bonds in the bond market. We don't work through any commercial sides of commercial banks or anything like that. So we are already getting really low cost of financing for those First Nations that are working for us. And so we want to see that also be available to nations or First Nations as they work to an SPV to take equity interest into some of these larger projects. The Indigenous Loan Guarantee, it's a program that the Government of Canada launched in Budget 2024. And at that point in time, they set a limit of $5 billion. And just recently under Prime Minister Carney, they doubled that to $10 billion. $5 billion would go pretty quickly. Really understanding the scale of some of these projects could be in the billions of dollars. And equity requirements likewise could be in up to $1 billion or even more. So this the loan guarantee would back Indigenous equity ownership in natural resources, really to get access to better options for financing, more affordable options, and also when the government under Prime Minister Carney doubled it to $10 billion, it included a wide variety of types of eligible investments like infrastructure, transportation, and trade, and still include energy projects and other natural resource projects. So the loan guarantee helps to produce a project risk based for the investors. In this case, would be for the First Nations that are working together under a special purpose vehicle. It actually reduces the risk for payment or non-payment of debt going forward. And by offering loan guarantees, the federal government will help the First Nations access to affordable financing for their equity ownership in these projects. Provincial loan guarantees will also be available, as I mentioned earlier. Call to action. So this is a really important part of the process. You know, the SPV, I think, is a really good option and a really good choice for amending our act that would allow us to lend directly to a special purpose vehicle. But at the same time, with recent legislation that's been passed, we need to demonstrate along with Canada that there is support for this special purpose vehicle amendment to the First Nations Fiscal Management Act. And so we would really like your support and join others in providing us with a letter of support from your nation to show that this is needed or would be a useful option for First Nations to consider when they're looking at these large resource projects. So we actually have access on our website for this letter of support and other details. You can also contact any one of our staff. They can give you more deeper explanation if you require one. But that's what we would really like from those nations that are working with us today and are joining us, is to provide a letter of support. We really appreciate that and really thank you for that. I'm going to show you a short video, and just before we get into wrap up. So this is a video that we've done that looks at the special purpose vehicle in a little bit more detail.
Across Canada, First Nations are taking our rightful place in Canada's economy. There's another opportunity that could help all nations build a more secure future together. Imagine a major project that could transform a community and create generational wealth. New clean energy to power homes, housing developments that brings families together, resources and equity opportunities that create jobs and generate wealth. All the while providing profitable returns that can be leveraged by long-term loans to build community priorities. For projects like these, we sometimes create a special purpose vehicle, or SPV. An SPV allows First Nation governments to explore these financing opportunities and benefit in a safe manner, knowing their communities' operating budgets are not at risk should the project encounter unexpected revenue disruption. First Nations Finance Authority was created to help finance projects that provide positive change by offering low-cost loans specifically for our members. First Nations is not a product line to us. It is our only focus. Currently, FNFA can only lend directly to First Nation governments, where each loan is backed by our own source revenue, not directly to these special purpose vehicles whose projects fuel growth and help mitigate risk. Imagine the impact if FNFA could lend to SPVs where a loan guarantee exists. With just one small change, we could unleash new possibilities across all nations, giving every community and our future generations an added path to prosperity. FNFA loans are designed to be affordable with low interest rates below bank prime. These savings mean increased profits, increased returns for each nation to use how they see fit, including housing, health, infrastructure, and community services that improve our quality of life. Every dollar saved helps us create a better future. If FNFA could lend directly to SPVs combined with a loan guarantee, then every nation, large or small, would have access to the financing needed to grow and participate in major projects. And First Nation governments could consider these opportunities knowing their own source revenues are better protected. With FNFA's support, we could lower costs and maximize savings for our communities. This is about empowerment and autonomy. It's about creating wealth and an opportunity that flows right back to our people.
The 2024 federal budget earmarked up to $5 billion in loan guarantees to help Indigenous communities become equity partners in large natural resource and energy projects. We welcome this initiative, but it would make sense to have FNFA as the lender of choice rather than commercial banks. We can provide lower interest rates and higher returns for communities.
We now have a chance to make this vision a reality. We are calling on Canada to support us in making this change, to allow FNFA to lend for these projects that help build a brighter future for all First Nations. Contact us today and learn how you can support this initiative. Together, we can create a legacy of prosperity for all of our nations, and we are stronger together.
Well, thank you for participating in this webinar today. We look forward to any questions or comments that you may have. One of the things is we work in the capital market, so interest rates change every day. So you may want to call us and get the current rates that we have right now. So that's one of the things that I noticed that will change daily. So I'm going to open up now to questions and turn it over to Jody, back to Jody, so she can moderate the questions and comments.
Thank you, Ernie, and thank you for the presentation. We've had a couple of questions posted in the Q&A chat. If our participants have had a chance to look at the questions or if we can go through them, feel free to ask away, or you're also more than welcome to contact us for more information. And Ernie was talking about some of our rates, and I think it's a great opportunity to explain to the folks on this call that not only do we have our interim or construction loan program, which is currently at 3.75 interest payments only, we also offer a 10-year rate that can be amortized up to 30 years or beyond in some situations. But FNFA has now moved forward with offering a 5-year term. And I'm going to ask our finance folks to post the rate in the Q&A session as of today. So if people have an opportunity or questions, there are certainly a number of different options in which they can look at to structure your debt and your opportunities that are coming down the pipe, and in some cases, quite literally. So we have a question here. Do all the participating nations have to be a member of the FNFA? Or just one of the nations in the SPV could qualify? So this is a great question. So in the case of a special purpose vehicle, the special purpose vehicle itself would require a membership to FNFA, but a membership is different than having to go through the certification process with FMB. And the nations that are in that or a part of the SPV, if they are not already scheduled under the FMA, they would not be required to schedule separately in this particular case as part of the SPV. So we would have the SPV scheduled, which would encompass and include all of the participating nations. So I hope that was clear. And there was another question: could an SPV be taxable to take advantage of renewable energy tax credits? And our CFO, Rachel McAllister, has answered that it really depends on the structure of Indigenous that the Indigenous owners decide on. And that's something that the SPV would need to consult with either your auditors or your financial planners in terms of what the options are and what the pros and cons are, depending on the individual SPV itself. Is there anybody else who has any questions? And I'm going to ask Stephen if you can prepare the lovely wheel so that all the participants who are on the call today, minus FNFA staff, have an opportunity for a $100 gift card. And that gift card can be at if there's a particular gas station or in your community or an Indigenous business, we're happy to support Indigenous businesses right across Canada. Stephen, do we have the spin that wheel ready to go?
We do have it ready. I do see some
Wonderful.
more Q&As coming into the...
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, would you please send us the sign up information to become an FNFA member? Mitch, absolutely. We are more than happy to contact you. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel McAllister has a 5-year rate posted at approximately 3.20, which is an excellent rate. If there is more information that you want, and you want to leave your name, we are more than happy to contact you. Simone will have Ian Bear, who is the contact person for your area, reach out to you very soon to have a discussion. And some of the other questions here. The AOIC, which provides loan guarantees for Alberta nations to help with the equity participation in major projects. From your perspective, how do FNFA's financing tools and AIOC guarantees relate to each other, if at all? Do you see them as complementary, potentially working together on the same project, or are they designed to operate in different spaces? Mr. Daniels, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. We've been in discussions with AOIC on how we can be complementary, but yes, we can actually work with them right now. It's because a loan guarantee is only in place to support financing that nations can go and get. So FNFA, being a lender in the First Nation space, can provide financing for projects and can be supported by the AOIC or any provincial government loan guarantee. AOIC's been talking to us because they have a ceiling on their loan guarantee, and so they're looking for more ways to expand that to leverage more financing, and this is what FNFA can do. So yes, it can work together.
Thank you for that. And we have another question from Simone. Would the SPV be open to a tribal council that is in partnership with the other nations or a large project?
Another really good question. And I'm going to say right at this point in time, it's something that we'll have to look into because we're trying to follow the same requirements that the government or administrating body that's up will be managing the Indigenous loan guarantee. And at the current time, it's going to be open to rights holders. And I would imagine that tribal councils are rights holders. But tribal councils operate under a constitution, and I'm sure they have an existing corporate body that can invest into these types of investments. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask our staff to launch the poll questions for our participants.
All right, poll has been launched. For everybody who is going to be answering, there are 6 questions. Please scroll down on the window to answer them all.
And we'll just give a couple of minutes for our participants to answer these poll questions. And I'll look to my staff to just give a heads up or a thumbs up on answers coming in. And when you just want to give a thumbs up in the chat once you're done,
We
we'll
are
move
getting.
to the closing part of our session.
Thank you to everyone participating in the polls.
Wonderful. Thank you, Simone. And a reminder for the participants on, we have a template of a letter of support, and we would be more than happy to, and actually, can I get somebody from FNFA to drop the SPV website
I'm doing it now.
address? Beautiful. Great. Okay, so without further ado, people can still answer those poll questions if they wish to choose or wish to do so. And if we can, let's give some gifts away, Stephen.
Yeah,
So this is for a $100 gift card, and we will contact you. We have your email address.
Okay, I'm gonna share the wheel of names now. There we go, and let's spin away. Anticipation's building. And it looks like we got Chris Akomola. Congratulations, Chris.
Congratulations, Chris. So our staff will be in contact with you very shortly. And just a quick miigwech. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We will give you 25 minutes of your day back. And if you have any further questions, again, we encourage you to contact our office. We're happy to help talk about some of the projects that you have coming down the opportunity path for your nation. We can certainly help on looking at financing options for you and look forward to having your support, seeing you in person. And miigwech, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thanks everybody.